You're listening to the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network. The views and opinions expressed on this episode are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or philosophies of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible. This show has also been rated M for mature audiences only. This is Creepy Soup on the PFC Entertainment Network.
This week, Sean from, as everybody knows, because I bring it up every fucking week, Power Tripping Through the 80s, and several others.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, though, to be on something that isn't wrestling or nostalgia related this time. And on top of that, I get to look at someone much prettier than Jason Klaus, for God's sakes. So,
yeah, and honestly, I kind of... Okay, so this is like a last-minute decision to do this today. And I had something on, not completely inappropriate, but I didn't really feel like recording that. And I thought, okay, I'll do this one. It's like the spooky version of Golden Girls, so...
I dig it myself. I have a couple Golden Girl shirts myself that I wear around, and my wife, it absolutely drives her nuts. But you know what? I think it's hilarious. I do stupid things like setting stupid ringtones on my phone so that I get a reaction out of people. I'm just that type of person. I don't know. If I was to describe myself, I'm like a fat ninja. You don't know which way I'm coming from, but I'm going to get you in one way or the other.
Yeah, I listen to you and the way you talk about Sharon, your wife, and like some of the shit I pull on my husband kind of sounds like the four of us would get along, and Sharon and Roy would be out to the side going, do you fucking believe this shit?
Yeah, that would probably be the case because... every once in a while, I will see her standing behind me doing the old head shake, like, I can't believe I married this guy. But you know what? She was the lucky one in this deal. I don't care what anyone says. So,
yeah, I can't tell you how many times, and especially I'm on vacation right now, so I can't tell you how many times. It's a little less when I'm at work because I'm gone for several hours a day. But what the fuck is wrong with you? I wish I had $1 for every time I heard that question. Just since I've been on vacation, I could take another week.
I started my vacation today as soon as I punched out, and hey, I'm looking forward to this one. We're gonna hit the Fort Michilimackinac. They got the ghost tour going on over there, and so that kind of coincides with what we're doing here. So, I'm pretty excited to be here. Thank you for having me on this show.
Well, like I said, thank you for last minute agreeing to do it. So, yeah, it's again, this was last minute. I wasn't prepared. I had actually today was like seemed like a nice home cooked meal, but it kind of wasn't. Like I made homemade stuffing last night, so it would be ready because it's like a 5-hour process. It's not just like toast the bread and make the turkey legs and all this shredded up, and so it's a process.
So you don't do stovetop at all then?
I mean, once in a while, but Probably for about the last 2 months, my husband's been going, I really want some stuffing. And it's been too hot. So last night when it cooled down, I'm like, look, I've got all the stuff. I went and got the stuff yesterday. I'm like, I'm going to start it now. So tomorrow when it's hot as hell. And then I cheated and I went to Sam's Club and got a rotisserie chicken and like their Yukon Gold potatoes and microwave those. So it was a good dinner, but all my work was done last night.
Hey, now there is nothing wrong with those rotisserie chickens from Sam's Club or Costco or anything else, man. I love those things, and they're cheap enough too. And if you plate them up before your significant other gets home, it does look like you created a home cooked meal. So
yes, it does, and I use them a lot. Like if I make chicken noodle soup, I cheat a little bit, and I'll get one of those and I'll shred that up and. Yeah, those can be a godsend sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could. I bought a smoker here recently.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it, but I come home from work today after working 9.5 hours, and what do I see in the sink? 2 slabs of ribs stalling out. My wife's like, well, on your first day off, you're going to make me ribs again. That's not a quick process either. I mean, at minimum, it's 6 hours to make some decent ribs on a smoker. So,
yeah,
I love doing it. I don't love to be told that I'm doing it, if you know what I mean.
yeah, that is a difference. And then, like I told my husband, like I'm going to make stuffing. No, you're on vacation. You don't need to do all that work. Vacation time is a time for me to do it because I don't want to do it when we're working 5-6 days a week. So. You get it now. So he's happy as shit.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to cook, like really cook in a couple weeks because I started this new job and I've gone from working like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning to 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon to starting at 7 o'clock in the morning and not getting out till 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's been quite the change. Quite a change in my lifestyle at work. I mean, I'm happy. I'm very happy. I just wish I had more time at the end of the day to do the things that I was doing previous to stepping into my new role,
Yeah, for sure. And Jason can tell you, like, when we went from, like, the old trim shop to the new trim shop, anybody that was, like, team leaders or ARs, which is absent replacements, we had to do training in the new trim shop, which was only done on first shift. So that was fun. I'm not a first shift person, not by any fucking means. Even when I was in school, because I'm older than you and Jason, so
I wouldn't say by much. I'm 50 this year, so
I'll be 51 this year. So no, it's okay. Not by a whole lot, but So then you remember, like when we were in kindergarten, or at least I grew up in Saginaw. We only had either morning or afternoon kindergarten. It wasn't all day like it is now.
Right.
My mom knew enough to never send me to morning preschool or morning kindergarten because I would have been truant as a toddler.
My dad worked mornings for General Motors, so you damn well better believe my ass was shipped off to school at 7:30 every day so Dad can get some sleep. Because then when I got to elementary school, you get home at 3:30, and that's about the time he would leave. He worked second shift at General Motors, and so the only time I really got to see him was on the weekends when he wasn't hunting or fishing with one of his buddies.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's rough. And, I mean, I'm not saying I have it bad. There are people that drive farther, and also I'm that person, I leave 2 hours before my shift starts because, one, you never know what traffic shit you're going to run into, and if you have to take an alternate route, and, you kind of want a decent parking spot.
Right.
So
I worked at the Lake Orion plant. When I got out of high school. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I didn't want to be close. I wanted to park as far away from the front of the building as I could, so that way I could be one of the first ones out of that damn place.
Yeah, it's, actually, there's a group of us that sit outside and wait for the traffic to die down because it's like the Indy 500 in that parking lot.
Yeah.
So we sit there and we wait, and there's a lady that sits with us that she waits for one of those Your Ride buses. So we sit so she's not by herself. And yes, so sometimes we don't get out of there till like 25 after 11.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, given today, I peel back the curtain. I live in Holly, and right now I'm working right up there on Sashbaugh Road in Clarkson, right next door to the Pine Knob Music Theater, practically. About a 20-minute drive on average for me to get home. Took me about an hour to get home because of all the stupid construction and traffic around this area right now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a couple of days that, I take alternate routes. 475 right now is a nightmare because there's a section that's down to one lane, and of course there's merging traffic, so I try not to take that. So then I'll take Dixie as far as I can go and then take that down. It's just a nightmare. And I'm a Leadfoot, so even though I know where I'm going, I still have my GPS on so they can tell me where there's speed traps.
Yeah, I do the same thing myself. I wanted to get home quick today because today was the first day of Deal's Cider Orchard out here towards Rose Township. They opened up, so when you finally get your apple cider and your donuts, fall is right around the corner, and I'm super excited for that.
You know what? I love all things fall, except I don't like cold weather.
I don't either. I can handle anything from the 40s on up, honestly. Anything colder than the 40s? No. I'm the reason why God created a furnace and or central air, because I will not get out of my chair if I don't have to.
Yeah, I'm not a person who likes the cold, and like the one good thing is, no, I didn't totally quit, but I vape instead of smoke cigarettes now, and there's no smoking in my house. So like we tried a couple different things. Like we bought like an ice shanty, like a waterproof ice shanty, and had like the heater out there. We'd go out there and smoke, and that was not as waterproof as we thought. And that it was just, we keep trying. I'm like, you know what, I just one day decided I didn't want to smoke anymore. Just decided, and been doing the vape thing ever since, and eventually I would like to stop doing that, but right now no. So
when I was drinking, I would occasionally light a cigarette up, and it would drive my wife nuts. But for some reason, back when you're 20, 30 years old, there was nothing better than drinking a cold beer and having a smoke, and she absolutely hated it. So I don't do anything fun anymore. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Every once in a while, though, I have to have me an edible or something to calm my ass down. So
yeah, once in a while, and that used to be something really bad. And then I stopped when my referral to GM was put in because I'm like, they drug test you, so I don't want that. And then by the time I finally got in and got hired and all that stuff, I'm like, I don't even care now.
I can relate to that because in order for me to get my new position, I had to take a piss test, and so I stopped the edibles about a month before, and then when it was all said and done with, I'm like, man, I don't know if I really need the job or if I need the edibles anymore. It didn't really matter to me one way or the other. So, but like you, I gotta have my soda. So,
yeah, I was listening today to you guys while I was, again, not making dinner, but like getting everything together. And my grandkids and my daughter-in-law and son-in-law live here, so I'm like getting everyone's plates ready and all that stuff. And I was listening, and when you got to the Coke or Pepsi, I'm like, Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I can see that. No, I've always been a Pepsi kid, and I can't change. I've tried to drink Dr. Pepper. It's just not one of my favorites. Now, give me Dr. Pepper with some vanilla ice cream. Now you're talking.
Yeah, that's good. I actually I like to bake, and one of the things that I make, simplest recipe ever, is a chocolate cherry Dr. Pepper cake.
I think I heard you talking about that with Jill one of these episodes here.
Yeah, it's just Devil's Food cake mix and a room temperature can of cherry Dr. Pepper. And then I cut cherries up into it. And
Okay.
then I make the homemade frosting and everything. Yeah, I just did that for a lady at work end of June, I think it was. And yeah. But in the summer, I don't do a lot of baking because, well, we don't have central air and it's just too fucking hot to turn on an oven.
I don't know if I'm like a big fat candle. If I don't got central air, I'm going to melt. So, no, I need to have my central air. Now, I got to ask you, though, did you find your Dr. Pepper cake from one of these TikToks or whatever?
Actually, it was before TikTok, but I did find it on Facebook.
Okay.
But I have made a cake from TikTok, and that's actually one of my most requested. When someone says, hey, I have a birthday coming up, of course, my question is, well, what kind of cake do you want?
Right.
And a honey bun cake.
You talked about that, too, here an episode or two ago. See, I listen to you guys, too, so, yeah, I might have to, my birthday's coming up September 4th. Just saying.
Yeah, you know what? I love to bake, and my whole thing is if I wasn't a shop rat and I had the money to just throw away, I would probably open up a restaurant/bakery because I could spend all day in the kitchen as long as I don't have to clean up.
That's so funny you say that because Sharon and I, we were looking very seriously at a building to open up a restaurant this past summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and one thing led to another, and then the owner decided to sell the building, and now it's getting tore down.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, we're going to have to wait. I was actually going to open up a burger and barbecue joint, and I wanted to do it up north, obviously. And, yeah, so now we're going to have to wait a little while longer. Who knows?
Now,
Maybe Go ahead.
I was going to say, would that have been in the Tawas area?
It would have been.
Yeah.
I was planning on, okay, if you're familiar with Tawas, you know where the state park is, where they park all the RVs.
Yep.
Okay, so you know where the state dock is at? They had a little building there at one time that housed a kite shop and then like a party store. Most recently, it was a pizza restaurant, and next door to that was a place called Freaking Pickles. In that same parking area as the RVs and the state pier. And they wound up selling off that building to the RV park next door so they could expand it by 6 feet or whatever the hell it is. So, kind of upsetting, but whatever.
Yeah, my husband and I, well, we both went up there, obviously, separately as kids. And I had an aunt and uncle, and it's a little different now than it was back in, like, the late 70s, early 80s when we would go up there. Because they've definitely changed, like, where you... Like, do you remember the beach that had, like, the whale and the castle and
You're talking about the park, right? Right before you get into downtown Tawas City on the right-hand side. I can't think of the name of the park, though. But, yeah, they had a slide where you would climb up Pluto's butt and then out his mouth. And, yeah.
And there was a pelican and just, I had an aunt and uncle that when you walked out of their house, you took a right and walked down the street, went over the railroad tracks. Once you crossed 23, you were right there. So,
nice.
Yeah, like we could stand on their front porch and see the beach. So we were there all the time. Like,
we were going up there in the, I think I started going up there when I was about 5 years old, so the late 70s, early 80s. Do you remember just outside of Tawas, before you got into Oscoda, they called
Hobby Lot?
Huh?
The Hobby Lot?
The Mystery Spot.
No, that I don't remember.
Actually, they called it Mystery Ridge back then. If you were, you know what? I have a whole folder of Mystery Ridge, and I went out there recently in the last couple years because they closed it down. And they reopened the Mystery Spot up in St. Ignace. And so you would go. It was definitely a tourist trap. So maybe your aunt and uncle kept you out of it because it was a tourist trap.
Yeah.
But you would go into the building, and it was like the building was lopsided. So when you walked into it, the floors were straight, but it would appear as though water was running uphill. There was a trapeze in there. When you push yourself off the platform, it would slam your back into the wall. They had a chair where you'd put up against the wall, and it looked like you were levitating. Mystery Ridge.
Yeah, no, I've never been there, but I do. I feel like I recall them talking about it, but I do remember, like, my brothers and my cousins, because they were older, they would go to the Hobby Lot all the time, and I'm assuming, because I never went, that it was like video games, arcade type thing, and I don't even think that exists anymore, but yeah, they used to go there every time we'd go up.
I don't remember a place like that, but then again, we used to stay. When my uncle used to take me up there, we used to stay quite a bit out, just it would have been just south of the Singing Bridge, and independently owned camping area by the name of Brown's Cabins. And the guy had 2 cabins down on the beach, and it was just an absolutely huge beach, but you had to traverse these skinny-ass stairs that my poor Aunt Tony almost killed herself on many, many times, and to get down to these cabins. But, when we were there, we were there. We weren't going into town. We were there to enjoy the beach. We were there to fish, and we were there to build campfires and have my uncle sing songs to us. So it was some of the best times.
Yeah, when we went up there, it was my aunt and uncle. Well, actually, yeah, related to the uncle, but I preferred the aunt. She had multiple sets of twins. There was, Terry and Jerry, Eddie and Leanne, Kelly, and her twin had passed away, and then Tommy and Roy. So she had 4 sets of twins, and then she had 1 single.
My God, that house had to be packed.
Yeah. Yep. The boys slept in the basement, and the girls all had rooms upstairs, and yeah, it was just. But you know what? It was never a dull moment there. We would go outside and play flashlight tag, and they lived right next to a funeral home. So we would hide in the funeral, and I was little, I didn't know what the hell that meant. So we'd hide in the funeral home property, and we just had a great old time. Like, it was great.
Me and funeral homes, we just don't jive too much. I go to a funeral home. I'm not saying I'm sensitive, but I don't belong in a funeral home. Matter of fact, I told my wife when I pass, I don't want to be displayed in a funeral home. I said, burn my ass up, take my picture to a bar, and stay as far away from the funeral home as you possibly can, because it just, I have too many things that go on in my head that probably most people don't have going on in their heads, that I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely now that I'm older and I understand why I would see or hear things. Now that I'm old enough and I understand that, now I'm not crazy about it. But I will say, a friend of mine, he has done like documentaries and things like that, of like paranormal documentaries, and he does a red carpet premiere here in Saginaw, and then for a while they were available like on Amazon Prime, but he had a lot of haunted items, so he decided to display them in one place, because before it would be like when he would have these premieres, he would, like anyone with VIP, had access to like his little haunted items display, and he had so many that he rented out a spot in a former funeral home, and that was fun. And then for a while he would offer and paranormal investigations there,
Okay.
And like it was very difficult to go in there because that is the building where my mom's memorial service was.
Oh.
So it was like the first time I'm like, do I really want to do this? Because it was, now it's just like a different, like there's an artist that has like space in there, and there's someone else that, I don't know, there's like, they rent out spaces now instead of just one big funeral home. And he had rented that for a couple of years where to display his items. But the ones that got the biggest kicks out of that were my grandkids.
Really?
My grandkids love spooky shit. I don't know where they get that from, but they absolutely love it.
My kids, you know, we're going to talk about it here shortly, I'm sure. But you know, when I got into paranormal investigations, my kids became, I don't want to make it sound too bad when I say this, but they became like victims of my transgressions. You know what I'm saying? I would have, you know, I mean, I just go into it. I mean, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely.
So, before I got into paranormal research, I was as big a skeptic as anyone you would ever meet. You couldn't tell me there were such things as ghosts. I would laugh at you. And one day, my buddy Box Step, he was, boy, I'm sorry.
You're good.
He told me that his house was haunted and that the crosses were flying off his shelves and that shelves in his refrigerator were just shattering. And he had this group coming up by the name of GOSM, the Ghost Hunters of Southern Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I said, Tom, this is all bullshit. You know, they're scamming you. They're going to take your money, blah, blah, blah. I says, I tell you what. I says, let me come over to your house. I says, let me see what's going on over there. And went down in his basement, and I started antagonizing whatever the hell was down there. Big mistake. You know, I don't care how big and tough you are. If you can't see what's pushing you around, it scares the hell out of you. And I felt like I had someone standing over behind me, head and shoulders taller than me, and just taking his chest and, you know, pushed me like, you know, what the hell are you doing down here? Like wanting to fight me. And I got upstairs and I literally wrote down everything I saw. And GOSM come out and they did their investigation. And there was a woman there by the name of Neva Magnuson. And she described a tall, bald man wearing a leather jacket, and his name was Lester. And I looked at Tom. I says, look at this. And I handed him what I wrote down. Tall, bald man wearing a leather jacket. And this is where I hit it off with Neva. And I still didn't believe it. And they decided to do another investigation at Tom's house. And I decided to explore the area where they said they were seeing Indians at. Well, we're talking Grand Blanc, Flint, Burton area. It's up there by, it's up there on Hill Road. Are you familiar with Flint?
I know how to get to work.
Okay. Well, this place used to sit between a floral shop and a funeral home. Their house sat right in the middle.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so I went to the back of this garage, and I started antagonizing it again. You know, this is bullshit. There ain't nothing in here, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I went to take a step forward, and I felt like two hands push me back. And I'm like, I'm imagining things. I took a step forward, and I woke up inside the house because I was knocked out cold. And when we got into the house, and there's pictures of it, I got to find these pictures. You'll see the 4 fingerprints and a thumb going right across my throat. And Neva did something, she called it a cleansing. because I couldn't feel anything in my left arm at all. And she did this cleansing, and ever since then, like her and I, we struck up this. It was a beautiful friendship, you know. We started SEMSI, the Southeastern Michigan's Paranormal Support and Investigations, and we did quite a few investigations as far as cemeteries. We did the Mansfield Reformatory. She went and did the River Raisin Battlefield, which is something I really want to do one of these days. But, you know, when we were just correspond with one another. Well, I found this cemetery, and this is where I'm going to talk about my kids being a victim of my folly.
Now, are these pictures that I have?
No. I will find the one picture and send it to you.
Okay, because I know you gave me some.
Yes, I did. We'll go into that in just a second. This is out on Bald Eagle Lake Road, out in the Davisburg-Clarkson area. Went to a cemetery, and I was learning how to meditate. And I would sit down in the cemetery with a pad of paper and a pencil, and I would write down whatever came into my head. And I kept hearing this name, David Shaw, David Shaw, David Shaw. And we walked around the cemetery, and I was taking pictures. And I gotta find it. I caught a half-body apparition of a gaunt old man wearing blue overalls, straw hat, really dark eyes. And as we come around the backside of the cemetery, there's a bunch of busted stones. Sure enough, one of the stones had the name David Shaw on it.
I think that's... Is that one of them? I feel like that's one of them you've sent me.
I don't know.
I'm going to peek real quick.
Okay. Anyways, when we left the cemetery, this entity, whether it was David Shaw or not, attached itself to me and was antagonizing my 2-year-old son. And we had to have Neva and a few others come in, and they did a full cleansing on the house. And I still didn't learn my lesson and continued to keep investigating. So,
you know, it's one of those things. Like, I can see how people do make it their career. Like, it. Yeah. I don't want to say it's addicting, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
I had started. I want to say the first one that was like that I went to that was considered an investigation was. I'm trying to think if this was the first one. The William Peter Mansion in Columbiaville. Have you heard of that one?
I have never heard of it, no.
Okay. I know a couple years ago it was up for sale for a cool $1 million.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah. And, I mean, pocket change. So,
right.
A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful home. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, I have always hated basements. I mean, if it's a finished basement, okay. But I'm not a basement person. So, you go in there's like the main basement, which, you know, is like a typical basement with storage here and storage there and boxes of Christmas decorations and this and Halloween stuff and all kinds of shit. And I'm like, I don't like it down here. It just feels weird. And then they talked about how the original builders of the home would go to the local orphanage and adopt children, but they would keep them in the basement. And it was a very uncomfortable feeling. So then we go back up into the main part of the house, and then we go around this area and go back down to another section of the basement. And this is the only way you can get down there. Well, we're down there, and I can't breathe. Like, I feel like I have an elephant sitting on my chest. Like, I couldn't breathe. I was with my daughter and a friend of mine, another one that I work with. And I'm like, I can't breathe. I don't know what's going on. Well, then he starts talking about the person that had died down there died because somehow they got a big slab of cement on their chest. And they were basically crushed and couldn't breathe. So I'm like, okay, well, that's fun. So now I get to feel this shit, right? And that didn't happen again until this same friend with the museum. And like I said, he, I think you would actually really, really love his Patreon. Like, I think you would love it.
Is this Dan or whatever his name is?
No, actually, I met Dan through this person's Patreon, and there's a group of us. That's how Jenny and I met. And, like, we've become friends. Some of us are, like, family. But, so he was doing a Patreon series on this particular location. Well, then he started offering, like, investigations to the people of Patreon. So there was a group of us that went, and he tells me, we go into the living room, and there's like a semicircle of chairs, and he said, I want you to sit right here. And I'm like, okay, I don't give a shit where I sit, I just want to sit. So we're sitting, and of course he says, if you see anything, hear anything, feel anything, I need to know right away. Okay, that makes sense. So all of a sudden I'm doing this, like, I'm not a neck cracker, mainly because my husband hates it, but I don't just automatically go to cracking my neck. Well, I'm doing this, and then it hurt. And then there was a bathroom break that there wasn't a working bathroom in the house, so they went to another location. I didn't have to go, so I stayed back, being another girl, and we were talking about it. He was like, is your neck okay? And I'm like, as soon as I stepped off the bottom step of the porch, I was fine. No pain. It was like it never happened. And he was talking to neighbors earlier that day and found out that right above where I was sitting, someone had hung themselves.
Oh.
I'm like, that's lovely. I don't like this.
Right. When we were in Mansfield, you get a tour in the beginning. And of course the guy tells you stories to get your juices going, get the adrenaline pumping, you know, because let's face it, when your adrenaline's pumping, you start to think that you see or hear things that you normally wouldn't. But this guy told a story. We were in the shower area of the prison, and he says, you see that pipe up there? Someone hung themselves there with their towel. Mm-hmm. All right, you know, whatever. Well, we went back and we investigated the shower room later on, and we actually got an EVP of a female in there saying, hey, buddy, like, and it was a group of guys. There was no girls in this group at all.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So here, I hope this works. Remember how I told you I captured an EVP calling, a ghost calling for my name? Mm-hmm. I'm going to play this and see. Hopefully it comes through the mic. I want to see if you can hear it, okay?
Yeah. I think you've sent
this. This is the best tool to run a faceless YouTube channel and make extra income.
Stupid commercials. I don't even get paid for them.
Tell us what's on your mind. You got a message to get out, just let me know. Do what we can do for you.
Did you hear that?
That was clear as day, yes.
When you hear a disembodied voice call your name, I didn't hear it at first. Mm-hmm. And it makes you poop a little.
A little bit, because you're like, where were they? Yeah.
Right. I'll tell you something else, too, and I'll describe the pictures here in a minute, because I know you want to put those up. But a funny thing that validates what we were going through is... First of all, let me say right off the top, I hate Zach Baggins. I'm not a fan of ghost hunters either, but Zach Baggins he's creepy. I don't like him. I think he exaggerates. We can go into all kinds of details about Zach Baggins, but that's not what this is about. We were doing this investigation at Mansfield. It was myself, my buddy Tom, and my buddy Rob. And we found this cell, and we were looking at it, and it had, like, newspapers posted all over it and whatnot. And we could smell cigarette smoke. When you do the investigation at Mansfield, they give you a few rules. One of them is you can't smoke in the building or they'll shut down the investigation. Mm-hmm. Number 2, you can't take pictures of the new prison behind Mansfield, okay? And so the cell that we were at faced the new prison. You can see it through the windows. So we were looking for the cigarette smoke because we were ready to kill whoever was smoking in the building because we paid good money for this investigation. We couldn't find this person smoking anywhere. And the smell got stronger and stronger and stronger. So we left. I can't tell you. Maybe we went up to the rectory or something. Couple months later, Zach Baggins and his crew goes in there, and they stop right at the cell that we were at. And they were talking about how the inmate in that cell set himself on fire. And Rob called me up like right after that episode, and he was like, "Did you see that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that, dude. This is insanity." You know, we never got a hold of him to tell him that, you know, this is what happened to us, but it just validated what we were experiencing. We had no idea that happened in there.
Yeah, See, and I've been on a couple investigations where you get the tour first, and it's almost like the power of suggestion takes over.
Yep.
And, well, the one, it was Dan, I, and another couple had went to, of course, people I had met through this Patreon group. We had went to the Stimson Hospital in Eaton Rapids? I don't know. But
I think I heard you and Jenny talk about it.
Yep, I have done an episode on that, and that was prior to us going, or maybe it was after. I think it was before. So, I mean, I had already done some research on it, and then the opportunity came up to go. Actually, I think it was during the Oddities Festival last year. And we went. Now, remember earlier I said I hate basements.
Right.
Now, this is a very old building. Well, I also know, because it was started by, it was a nurse that brought in 2 doctors, and they, like, the 3 of them were the co-founders of this hospital, which honestly is a little more than a house. Honestly, it's not what you would think. And I want to say within the first 6 months of this being an operating hospital, one of the doctors Dr. Blanchard had come out of surgery, and he's going through his charts, waiting for the elevator. The door opened. He stepped in. It wasn't at the floor, and he fell to the basement right outside of the morgue to his death. And when we did the tour, I could instantly, my head was just pounding. And in my research, it was never specified like how he landed. Can you guess how he landed?
Head first, I would reckon.
Head first. He landed on his head, and Dr. Stimson was in the morgue finishing up with a body, and heard the commotion, went out there, and like basically saw him die. So but I can remember looking at Dan and Sherry going, "I want to come to the basement." And even when I told my husband that I wanted to go, he was like, "What? You wanted to go in the basement?" But I had to go down there. And we did. We sat down there for a while. The only downside of that particular investigation was the fact there was other people there.
Yeah.
And very old house, very thin walls. We were in the basement and could hear people on the 3rd floor. So, yeah. I mean, it's one of those places. Now, that group did go again. I wasn't able to get the time off of work, but they went and investigated, just them. I think it was for like 8 hours. They did an investigation there. I wasn't able to go, but it was a lot better for them that time than when we went the first time. So,
I imagine it would be. One of these times, I think we're looking at a gatekeeper keymaster situation with you and I here. So one of these days we might have to go on a hunt. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Who knows what we could stir up?
Yes, I definitely agree with that.
It could make for some intriguing podcasting, we'll say. So,
Yes. Yes, it could.
So, the pictures that you got.
Okay. I'm going to try and do a screen share on these little bad boys.
And I'll try to describe what we're seeing, but some of these were out of my wheelhouse, even though it was happening to me.
Okay, so I'm going to open this up.
I'm hearing sirens. So,
Okay. Let's try this.
it's experimental, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get through this one way or the other. But, you know, this whole thing with, hopefully they come up. Wait, which one are you trying to bring up?
I don't know. This was the first one I had saved.
Oh, this is the half body apparition. I don't know. Let's see if I can. Oh, that's on your side. I can make it. Oh no, I don't know why it's not coming up any bigger on yours. Oh, here it comes. So you can make out the outline of this guy. I mean, shoulders, hair, straps. This was the half body apparition that. I mean, some people might poo-poo on it because it's so grainy and whatnot. But, I mean, you can definitely make out a silhouette there. Can you see it?
Yeah, and I can also, and it's probably that, I don't know if it's paradoil or whatever the fuck it's called, but you can also kind of like see a face.
Yeah. So that was, I don't know if that was David Shaw, but that was at the back half of Mount Bethel, Mount Bethel Cemetery, it's called. It's one of the weirdest cemetery locations I've ever been on. You got to go about 3 miles down a dirt road into the woods, and you'll find the abandoned church right next to it as well. And that's where that one was captured at. And that was just randomly taking pictures.
Okay.
But that's where we wound up meeting Mr. David Shaw.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Haha.
Excuse me.
That didn't do what I thought it was going to do.
Isn't it ironic we got dead air going on?
All right. Can you see that one?
I still see the old one.
All right, I'm going to do a stop share real quick.
Okay.
And then try this again.
I'm going to find the name of that cemetery real quick, because I think I know which one you're putting up. Okay, so I believe that one is called Oak Hill Cemetery. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's the same light forms. You can see around, if you look to the left of the screen, it's going around a tombstone, it's going around a tree, and it's also going around me. Now, people could poo-poo on this because they're going to say maybe it was the flash from the camera or maybe it was lights in the background. There was no lights. There is no buildings. There is nothing behind the cemetery. It was almost pitch black. And when you zoom in, I'm actually holding a K2 meter. And when you look at the light that's behind my back, it actually almost looks like it's giving off a smoke effect going up into that tree. But it's not fire. It's a really weird effect. And then when you pull up the second picture, yeah, see how the light's going around the stone?
Yeah, and even right there.
Yeah.
There.
Completely wrapping around these things. Even though it's like in the same... I mean, if you were to say it was a car, then how is the same exact light formation going to show up when a car is a moving vehicle, right? When it's a moving object.
Right.
It's just not a thing. Now, when you bring up the second picture, the lights actually appear to be dropping down from the ceiling. It's funny because they've talked about mystery lights at this cemetery before. I think these are the only pictures that have been captured of these lights. You can actually see them with your own eyes. It's not just necessarily with the camera. Now, I couldn't see those being that bright, but you can see the hooks. You can see multiple hooks. Yeah. But if you look to you see where the white hook is in the center? If you go to the left, there's an orb the other way. And keep going, right there. Yep. So, and if you also look at the stone, it looks like that one vertical light, or that is going around that stone in front of me. So, if it's a car, now how come it's dropping from the ceiling of the trees?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Like I said, I can't explain them. The K2 meter was actually going off the hook, and it was just one of those things that you could see when the photos were developed, as opposed to being able to see those with your own eyes.
Okay. I know there's more.
Yeah. Should be my buddy with the face in the stone. I call that one. So if it's the one that you're going to put up, it was me antagonizing spirits again.
No, not that one. Not that.
No.
No.
Oh, hi.
That one.
So there's the face in the stone.
Yeah, you can clearly see that.
Yeah, it's not a reflection. If it was a reflection, you would see my ugly mug, but there would have been a camera in front of my face. Mm-hmm. There's no camera in front of this face at all. And it was me basically going out there. Why am I wasting my time out here? If you don't want to talk to me, then don't. I don't think you're here anyway. I took the pictures, and sure enough, this guy showed up, and he wasn't happy I was there.
No, it doesn't look like a happy person.
No.
Not at all.
So, I'm kind of curious what your listeners think of these pictures myself.
Yeah.
So I like someone to explain those light anomalies to me.
See, and it almost looks like the main face, and then another one right here.
See, I was thinking it was a hand, like he was trying to push up against. See, like how I'm doing here, but maybe I'm wrong. But in the dead center, dead. That's not a pun. Boom, boom. Dead center of that stone. I mean, you can make that face out as clear as day.
Yeah. Ew.
And then I may have sent you the one. It's like 3 pictures. I don't remember. I can't even hardly see that on my side of the screen.
It almost looks like a figure right there.
Yeah. I don't remember what that one was. Maybe it was. I don't know. I guess it's very small on my side of the screen.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay. I also have another one where I did an investigation at a guy's house. I can send you the picture when we're done. We didn't find nothing except I got one picture of a reflection. I was sitting on the floor, and when I took the picture, the apparition's head was almost at the top of the door. The person was complaining because they would hear a handbell being rung all night. When you look at the picture, you can see the bell in the apparition's hand.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's pretty, I don't know if I can find it real quick or not. Let me see here.
I know. Go ahead.
Yeah, have you ever caught anything like this before? Or?
I have. Did I keep that open? Probably not. Nope. I'm gonna jump over to, because I know I sent it to you, so I will. I might have it somewhere on my laptop, but I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, I don't even know how I sent you to the pictures before because they're not even showing up on my phone except for the one I just sent you. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I did send you those EVPs. Looky there.
Yeah. Okay, so I have these. Nope. That there was a group of us that went to investigate on the USS Edson.
Okay.
Okay. It's not going to do it for me. I thought I downloaded both of them, but I did not. Okay, this one. And I will make it bigger. I had taken... We were in... This is the area they call the 9/11 room.
Okay.
Because this was a decommissioned ship. And then it was recommissioned after 9/11. And there's actual pieces of the Twin Towers there. There may or may not be body parts there. And this ship was also in an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Okay.
I used to have that memorized. I don't. I could look it up, I'm sure. But if you look right here, and this is like towards like the barracks where like all the bunks are, and you can feel like there was a bunch of us in that room, and you feel like you're being watched, like 100%. So I just lifted up my phone and took a picture. Well then, and I don't have this, I didn't send the next one to you. I turned my flash on, and Jenny was there. She can attest to this. That as soon as that flash went off, you could feel like anger. Even my husband, that's who that is sitting there in the picture, not circled, but this dude right here.
Right.
Even he was like, holy shit. Like that was his first experience with doing something like that. And he was like so shocked by how that anger felt, like coming at you, but there was nobody there. But I had the flash on, and I was like, okay, I won't do that again. And
right.
I apologized, and was like, no, don't be mad at me. But yeah, it was like a very strong feeling of anger. And also from here, I think I sent you the video where everybody else was heading down to the 9/11 room to start out the investigation. I thought, if that's as active as they say it is, I want to go down there last. I don't want to go down there first, because I want my night to get better instead of peaking and then for everything else. So we were walking around, just, they had like the little not gift shop, but like their little version of commissary or whatever. And we're walking, and then something in the video whispers, and Jenny, because she was there when we're going over and watching and listening to the video photos and shit that we took, we even made my husband repeat it at the same volume to say, like, no, that's not him. We even had we recorded him saying it, played it back, because you know how you sound different when you're recorded and whatnot. So we even did that. We 100% excluded him from being the person. It was like they're downstairs, or they went downstairs, or go downstairs. It was something about going downstairs. And at that time, it was just me and my husband walking. But yeah, that was something. I didn't hear it when it was being recorded, and if it would have been my husband, I would have responded to him.
Right.
So, yeah, it was just weird.
If you can investigate anywhere, anywhere, where would you want to investigate?
For the first time or again?
Whichever you want.
I think something like a first-time investigation, I would, off the top of my head, the Lizzie Borden house.
Okay.
That one's always interested me, and there was one because after listening, like it's either I do a case or Jenny does a case. Well, once in a while, we'll be like, okay, I'll do the true crime side of it, and you do the paranormal side, or vice versa. And we did the Lizzie Borden house, and I think it was like a week or two later, we did the theories of if it wasn't Lizzie, who was it? And I've listened to other podcasts where they have been there and they talk about like the different paranormal things that happen there. And that is one place I would absolutely love to go.
Cool. I think if I can go anywhere, I have two. I want to do Alcatraz without a shadow of a doubt. And then I would love to do the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Yeah, those are both on my wish list. And if I would have to say, if I did another investigation at a place, it would actually be my third at this particular place if I was to go again, is the place where I was telling you earlier that I felt like the neck thing. And then that's a place here in Saginaw. Oh, I want to go so bad. I don't know if it has an actual name, but we just refer to it as the slaughterhouse because it's the house. It looks like an old farmhouse type house, and then there's a brick building in the back, and that is where they slaughtered like their cows or whatever animals. And that place, the house itself is crazy, but the slaughterhouse is also a very active building.
Well, sounds like we got to make some plans at some point.
Yeah, I need to get a hold of the friend of mine that has spearheaded prior investigations there, and I do know the husband of the couple that owned that recently passed away. So I don't know. I mean, it's been, I want to say 2020 was the last time I was there, but it's one of those things. I think about it constantly.
You know, you can try to shut off what some people call third sight, but it doesn't always go away. You know, my wife and I, we like to go thrifting, and when I run into something that's not right, my arm will go numb and start to tingle, and that's when I know something's up.
Yeah.
A lot of times I don't say nothing to her because it freaks my wife out.
Yeah.
But she knows.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I think it was Monday. There's a place like 5 minutes from my house. It's called Antique Warehouse.
Oh, the big place, the 4 floors. We're going there this weekend.
Well, I don't know if that one has 4 floors.
Well, it's the old hotel that they turned into an antique shop, right?
Are you talking Bay City?
Maybe that's what I'm talking about, Bay City, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, the Bay City one, I won't go in there again. Absolutely will not go in that one again. Nope.
Yeah, the basement's kind of off-putting.
Any of the floors. We actually were on the top floor, and I told my husband we have to get out of here right now because I'm about to collapse. Like, because I'll get in places that are very, like, overwhelming. And one of the places, and we have to go there every year on Memorial Day because it's where my husband's family is all buried. And we get to, like, they have, like, their little military circle, and that's where his grandfather and great-grandfather are. And then when we go to the other side where his grandma and aunt is at, like, there's a certain point we go past, and I have to take something for protection while I'm there. I don't breathe right while I'm in there. And even this time, he was like, holy shit, is that what you're feeling? I'm like, yup, that's what I'm feeling. He was like, I don't like it. Let's leave. And that to me is what that antique place in Bay City is. It's horrible. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm in a constant, like, having a panic attack, and I can't get out of it. And I don't like that.
I go upstairs, I just start sweating profusely. My stomach knots up on me.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't like it upstairs. The main floor, I'm generally pretty good on, but you put me down in that basement, and it's like I get clammy, and I'm still sweating. No bueno. But I told the wife I'd take her this weekend, so
Yeah, the top floor, and I want to say, if I remember correctly, because that was, I don't know, probably it was before COVID, maybe after COVID, that we went there, and I want to say like the top floor has a lot of like military uniforms and clothes and dresses and things like that, and that, yeah, just nope, couldn't do
what
it.
gets me, I know it's going to sound stupid, the area where they have all the records, that's where I start getting the feels, if you want to call it that.
Well, there's a lot of emotion tied to music, so it makes complete sense.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
But I was at Antique Warehouse here in Saginaw and Tibbetawasi, and they had a room that said everything in here is 50% off. Now, there wasn't a whole lot in there, but my eyes went straight to a mirror, which anyone that thrifts and is into the spiritual stuff knows you don't get mirrors. You just don't. But it was gorgeous. It was painted black, and it had hooks on it, and it was an oval mirror, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, I want this so bad. But, like, when I picked it up to look at it to see, like, how heavy it was, like, which wall would I put it on, it was vibrating.
Oof.
So I very carefully put it back down, walked out, and my find, of course, I'm at that age where Holly Hobby was a thing.
Okay.
And my very first bedroom, when my mom bought her first house after I was born, my whole room was Holly Hobby everything. So that's always been like a special thing to me. And we found one, I believe it was about 2 years ago at Antique Warehouse, and I bought one. And when my granddaughter would come spend the night, she would sleep with it and this and that. Well, I was walking in there, and I was like rounding one of the corners, and I'm like, man, I haven't seen a Holly Hobby yet. I got like 3 vendor spots down. Boom, there it was. $37. This bitch is mine.
Yeah. Comes to thrift. Well, you can look at my room. Big 80s fan. I love to thrift, but, you know, at the same time, I run into some of those old feels that I don't want to feel anymore. But, you know, if I'm going to get back into this thing, might as well do it with you and Jenny and, you know, see what comes of it, because it's, honestly, I haven't been doing this. My kids were, it's probably been about 12, 13 years since I've gone on an investigation, maybe even longer. Just, let's face it, just out of fear, you know?
Yeah.
When you see your son standing up in the middle of the night pointing to the bad man in the corner, like literally screaming, you know, that's when you check out, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when you know that you were the one that brought it home. So.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, there's, of course, that first one I went to, not that I didn't know, but I didn't take the time to do any protection, but I don't think anything at that point followed me home. It was the place I want to go back to. Shortly after, I want to say the weekend after, we had went to a metaphysical shop that I would go to all the time in Bay City. And when I walked in, now I'm friends with the owner because it's small business. The customers that are in there all the time, and I was in there all the damn time. You get to know him, and she was like, what is wrong? And I'm like, nothing. She's like, nope, there's something around you that's not supposed to be. And the lady I was with, she's like, you got it too. And she was at the investigation with me.
Oh, wow.
And there's no way the lady that owned the shop, so she said, there's another one that's not with you right now. She's not even close to you right now. And it was Jenny in Wisconsin. So we had to give her permission, like on Jenny's behalf, to do a cleansing, and she did one on us right there in the shop, and it was something, and you could actually feel it, like just like go.
No, believe me, I know. I know
Yeah.
completely. And maybe that's another reason why I got out of it, because as good of friends as I was with Neva, and I told you this, the last few years I lost contact with her. And then out of the blue, something told me to go to her Facebook page, just check in on her, say hi. And I found out she died. And, that when you have someone who you meet on conditions like that, I mean, we connected. I mean, she came up with the bald man's name, Lester. I'll never forget it. We had it was deeper than a friendship connection. It was a spiritual connection.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's, kind of like because with this Patreon group, there was a bunch of us, we all would chat like within the Patreon comment section, and like a bunch of us got close. And then there was some of us that took it outside of the Patreon, like to Facebook Messenger, and we had a chat. And then it kind of got to a point where it got less and less, and it was pretty much like the core four of us. It was Sherry, Jenny, Dan, and I. And we've honestly become more like family than just like another Patreon member type thing. Like, we've all become very close. Like, Sherry got married, I went to her wedding. Me and Jenny, of course. And then, Dan is our dude. So,
better not say that too loud. Jason will make another shirt that says Dan is our dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he needs one with like a coffee mug or something, because he's like, me and him are the coffee addicts of the group. Like, we love our coffee. But, and it's been like the four of us, probably because we all joined Patreon during, like, his initial investigation that he did for Patreon was the Court Theater, which my dad had worked at the Court Theater, and he's going through the first episode talking about the tall man in the balcony by the projection booth, and my dad was the projectionist. So I like instantly, and this is like before him and I had become friends, I'm like, so hey, I don't want you to think I'm just some crazy fangirl, and I told him who I was, who my dad was, who owned the place at the time when my dad worked there, and even prior, and things like that. And he got a hold of me after talking to the historian. He is like, would you like to come and investigate the projection booth with us? And I said, yes, the fuck I would.
Hell yeah.
So I went there, and that was probably the most memorable experience I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, a lot of old feels coming back to you, was there?
Absolutely, a lot of that. He had the geoport things that came through the geoport, and how anytime I would move, something would happen. Like, there was some meter going off. It seemed like almost all the time.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Really cool. But yeah, we like, you keep telling me, you brought up the cemetery, and I'm like, oh, we got to do that. Like, I want to do that. Labor Day weekend's coming up, and that'd be close to your birthday, so you could get a cake and we can investigate all at the same time.
Yeah, we could probably work something out. Absolutely. So
that would be awesome.
It's been a long time since I've been to that cemetery, so long time.
Yeah, it's so weird because my middle grandson, he is so into this stuff, and he wants it. He's always saying, Nana, can we investigate? Because, my house is pretty active. As you heard when I was a guest on Power Tripping Through the 80s. And like, I even, after talking to you, I even asked my daughter, I'm like, didn't you guys leave? Like, didn't you guys leave before I started recording? She was like, if it wasn't before, it was like, you were probably still in the chit-chat stage before recording, because they were like loading up as I was coming in here. She was like, but no, we weren't there. And I'm like, I didn't think so. I didn't think so. So, yeah. So my middle grandson is constantly, and he's got better ghost hunting equipment than I do because I buy him the shit for Christmas. And like he's got a nice spirit box. He's got the EV, no, not the EMP, I don't know, one of them.
EMF detector.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay.
I knew it was some letters.
Those damn letters.
Yeah. Well, because there's the REM pod and this and that. And I will tell you, never, and I don't give a fuck if any of them listen, never buy from Paranormal Junkie.
Okay.
Because their shit is shit. Like, it sucks. I've bought a couple things. They were running some specials, and I'm like, oh, cool, you get a free this with that. Not worth it. Not worth anything. The one thing they sent me, it was supposed to be some ball thing, and they sent me, like, glow sticks and balloons.
Oh! Well, you're going to have a 6-year-old's birthday party while you're doing an investigation.
I guess. I mean, and that's fine if you're going to be at some place with, like, stagnant air where there's no airflow. That would be perfectly fine. But I didn't see a point in it. And I'm like, well, this was a big fucking waste of money. Actually, what I find works the absolute best in investigations, if you want to catch movement or anything like that, is cat balls.
What are they?
They're cat balls. They were initially sold as a cat toy. And it's got a button on it, and when you hit it, it lights up. It looks like a little tiny cop car.
Okay.
And I bought my grandson a shit ton of those. I have a shit ton of those. Yeah, I got some stuff. You just let me know when you're ready so I can get the shit charged up.
Well, probably when we go off air here, I'm going to go to the bar, have a drink or two, and then we're going to have to talk because I'm off for the next few days here before I head up north. So.
All right, yeah. I know you have a thing tomorrow. Good luck with that.
Oh, yay, infusions, my favorite.
Yeah.
Actually, they make me feel great. They really do. I'm looking forward to them. Yeah. It's just a process of sitting there for 2 hours while they're pumping you full of drugs. So that part isn't very fun because generally they have some sort of stupid documentary about farm equipment on or something like that. You know, I live in Holly, so they don't have nothing cool on TV here. So.
Yeah. I do all streaming. I haven't watched actual TV, and I can't tell you how long it's streaming.
I know I'm going to watch Expedition X because they got the Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. They did an investigation there, so I want to go check that out. So,
is that the one where during Ghost Adventures thing there was a girl that had the whole building tattooed on her back?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
I want to say that was it. It was one of, I don't know. It was a big building. It was a big ass tattoo.
Probably was. I like Expedition X because they actually bring in a dude who, like, okay, so in the preview I was watching, dude was talking about how a black figure flew to him, right? Flew over his head. And then they had one of the investigators. He's not necessarily a cynic, but he's more scientific. And he's like, come here a second. He goes to a fireplace and he pulls up some droppings. And they were from, not droppings, but they were from an owl. You know how owl will regurgitate animal parts when they get done eating them. And he's like, you know, when an owl flies, it's silent. You know, so that's kind of where it left off. So I like the fact that they have the yin to the yang. Yeah. I would, you know, rather have something dispelled instead of me believing, you know, that, hey, this is what happened. You know what I'm saying? I want to know what exactly is going on. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, definitely. Let's get that figured out, and yeah, that'd be fun.
All right, awesome. So Mount Bethel Cemetery, here we come.
Yeah, I like it. So again, thank you so much for joining. And I try to do this every episode, like the merch store, the PFC store.printify.me. That's the only one I remember by heart.
Yeah, he's got back to school line and MWO legacy line, but you can probably find that through the other links on his stores. So.
Yeah, I actually have an order coming.
More coffee?
No. Oh, and that's good coffee, by the way. That
I
is
know. I heard you
really
talking
good.
about it.
That is actually because I've got like an all-in-one. It's got like you can do the hot coffee, iced coffee. It's got the little blender, so you can do the frozen coffee. My daughter said, "When you open that, can you make me a frozen one?" So I made her a frozen one the other day. She's like, "Oh my god, that's good." She's not even really a coffee drinker, but she liked that.
Oh, good deal. I'm still waiting for the Ninja Slushy. So.
Yeah, one of those would be super cool. But thank you again for joining, especially last minute and filling in. And we're gonna get something figured out.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, and Jenny, we hope to have you back real soon and get you on an investigation up here with us. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome, for sure. All right, till next time. Bye.
Bye.